Hi everyone! Thanks so much for joining me in the second video of my Finding Your Fit series, where I am teaching you how to find the clothing and sizes that work best for you. In today's episode, we're going to be going over finding your fit for dresses. So we're going to talk about silhouettes, what would work best on your body, taking your measurements so that we make sure we have those down for when we're shopping, and then also any other little tips and tricks that I have for finding something that's going to work best for your shape and style. Now, if you haven't caught the previous episode, I did talk about tops, which is something you probably wear very frequently. So you'll want to check that episode out and get the accompanying worksheets there. And I also had one episode before that explained why finding your fit is so important. So make sure you watch that too if you haven't already. And just with the previous episodes, I have with this one a worksheet. So if you're watching on a different platform than my website, make sure to click over to my website and then you can get those worksheets. If you're watching on my website though, you'll find that link right below me. All right, let's hop in and get started. So when it comes to finding dresses, there are basically three things that we need to think about and remember. The first thing we're gonna do is take our measurements. So I'm gonna get my handy dandy little, handy dandy measuring tape. Now, if you have one of these, that's awesome. If you've done the episode previous to this with the shirts, then you're already gonna have these measurements, or most of them. There's one measurement you won't have yet, but other than that, you can just kind of skip forward and you can already have those written down on your worksheet that you have just printed out. If you haven't followed my previous episode, then you're gonna wanna follow along with me now so that you can get the measurements you need. So the first thing that we are going to do when we are measuring and making sure that dresses are going to fit us properly is we're going to measure our shoulders. So when we measure our shoulders, we want to go from the edge of the shoulder to the other edge. That's what we're looking for. You might need somebody to help you with this, that's fine, but if you want to do it yourself like me, what I recommend is put your finger right where the edge of your shoulder is here, and then get this. You want to make sure it's straight so that we're getting a pretty accurate measurement here. And we're gonna let it lay flat. I'm gonna put my finger right where it is, and then I can let go of this side and I can look at this measurement. So my measurement's 16. I do recommend, measure twice just to make sure, like they always say, you wanna measure twice, and in our case, shop once, and make sure that we know our sizing. So try to take two measurements there and then write those down on your worksheets. After we have that measurement, we're gonna move down and we are going to measure our chest. So what you'll do is you're gonna get this thing straight, wrap it around your chest here. Now when you're measuring your chest, you're gonna measure basically on top of your chest, right about here. So you're kind of under your armpits, and then you're gonna take this measurement. So what I recommend is get this to where it's, tightly around your chest, and then take a deep breath. Because we want our dresses to be comfortable. We don't want to be like, sausaged into them. So you want to be able to breathe in your chest. So if you look for me, I typically fall somewhere between a 33 and a 34, which honestly will match up with whatever your bra size is. So take this measurement to have, but then also think about what bra size feels comfortable, and you'll kind of have that measurement already. After we do that, then we're gonna go for our waist, which is really important when it comes to dresses, because depending on the style of dress that you're wearing, we wanna know what that size is, so that if you are, let's say, wearing a fit and flare dress like I am right now, we're defining our waist in the right spot. So I'm gonna take this. If you don't know where your waist is, you wanna bend wherever that natural crease is gonna be where your waist is. So this dress hits me right at my waist actually. And then we're gonna wrap it around and we're just gonna take that measurement. So I normally fall somewhere between 25 and 26, so I'm gonna write that down so I have that. After we've got our waist, we wanna move on down the line to our hips. When it comes to hips, I always have to kind of do this twice, because your hips are typically a little further down than you expect. But again, this is a really important measurement, especially if you like to wear things that are a bit more form-fitting. For me, I can't wear form-fitting things because my waist is smaller and my hips and butt are bigger. And so we'll go into that when we talk about silhouettes. But the hips is gonna be really helpful in knowing if a dress is gonna fit you or not, if it's gonna be too tight there or if it'll fall down. So we're gonna wrap this around here. Like I said, I have a butt, so I pretty much have to rope my butt into this. And then you're gonna pull it tight and I'm typically somewhere between 35 and 36, so that stays pretty much the same. The last measurement that we are going to take then is how long we want our dresses to be. So I recommend that your dress hits somewhere either at or above your knee. You don't want it to go too short because then you can't wear heels and the proportions will be a bit off for you. And you don't want it to be too long either because you don't want to be drowned by your dress. So somewhere right around the knee is always going to be your best bet. Something to remember, like I was just mentioning, if your dress is longer and it looks a little too long on you, pop on a pair of heels. That's going to make a difference and elongate your body. Conversely, if you are wearing a dress that's too short, then don't wear heels because it's only going to make it look shorter and it's not going to be a good proportion for you. So try to remember that balance when you're putting on a dress, and also just try to find something that hits in between the too short and the too long, and then you can wear either your flats or your heels with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure down, and again, this one's a little harder if you're doing it by yourself just because you don't have somebody to make as taut of a line. But so what I'm going to recommend is you let it go down, you're going to kind of look and see, and I'm at about 33 to my knee. Another easier way to do this too is if you put on a dress and you like where it hits you, then you can take that dress off and measure from the shoulder down, and then you'll know the measurements that you're looking for in dresses. But if you are doing it yourself, let it fall. If somebody else is doing it for you, let it go all the way down and they can pull it taut and make sure it hits at the proper spot for you. So you want to make sure you write all those measurements down. If you are shopping for a long sleeve dress, then you'll want to take that measurement as well, which if you've done the previous video, you've already got that down. So you want to do from your sleeve to from the end of your shoulder to your wrist bone, and write that down if you are looking for a long sleeve dress. But once we have our measurements, that's super helpful in either shopping online or shopping in stores to know, we want it to fit in the shoulders, and once it fits there, it should fit better everywhere else. And then we want these other measurements to make sure it's not too tight in the chest. It actually fits our waist. You could also take a measurement from your shoulders to your waist in order to make sure if you're wearing a fit and flare that it's going to hit you at the correct spot. But we just need all of these so that we know that the dress is going to fit us relatively well. Again, this isn't a custom piece, so we're just trying to work within the realm of pieces that we're shopping in. So that's number one. Number two is the most important part, which is we've got our measurements, but what silhouette works best for us. So each body type, there's basically 4 silhouettes you want to focus on, and each body type fits into one or the other in a different way. So the first one we'll talk about is a shift dress. And now a shift dress is not what I'm wearing. A shift dress it goes from the shoulders down to the hem in a straight line. Basically, it's going to skim your body. It's typically a looser fit dress, and it's great for body types that are even all around. So the reason a shift dress never works on me and I don't wear them is because I have a small waist, but then I have a button hips. So if I get in a shift dress, it's going to hug me on my butt and my hips, and then I'm going to have all this extra fabric here. So that's why somebody who's even all around works really well in a shift dress and finds it very comfortable. The next option that you will look at and think about is a sheath dress. So a sheath dress is similar to a shift dress where it creates one straight line from the shoulder down to the bottom of the hem. The difference with a sheath dress, though, is that it does get defined at the waist. So it ends up being a tighter, more form-fitting dress. It's great for somebody who's pretty much even all around, but does have a little bit of a smaller waist, and they want to create some definition at their waist. So that would be a good option for you if you're more even all around and have a little bit of a smaller waist, or want to just define your waist and feel comfortable wearing something that's a bit more form-fitting. After that, we're going to look at A-line dresses. And so A-line dresses are great for somebody who has a smaller chest and a bigger waist because, as it says in the name, it's an A shape. So it goes from your chest and then flares out down. A-line dresses typically aren't like a fit and flare where it's a dramatic flare. It just creates that line that goes outward instead of straight down. And then your last option, which is for people like me, I have a small chest and a small waist, but I've got a butt and I've got some thighs. So I like a fit and flare. And a fit and flare is going to hit you at the smallest part in your waist. Typically it's a bit more form-fitting and tight up here as well, so I'm in a wrap version of the dress now, but You'll find fit and flares that aren't wrap around, they're just, a top bodice and then a bottom flare. And so the beauty of these is that we have something that's form-fitting where we're the smallest, and then it flares out, not necessarily dramatically, but it just gives you some flow and easy breezy down below. This is great for me, like I said, because if I have something that's too tight in my butt, I've got extra fabric here. It's also nice when you're wearing a fit and flare because then you don't have to worry so much about what you eat because you've got a lot of extra room to flow around. So those are, depending on your body shape, you're going to fall into one of those categories. And you might be able to cross over into some, like I could probably get away with a sheath dress. I just don't feel comfortable wearing stuff that's form-fitting because I like to eat my food and my pasta. But you can kind of transition through a couple of them, like shift and A-lines. You could probably wear both of those. Fit and flare and sheaths, you could probably fit into both of those if you fall into one of those body type categories. So once we know our measurements, once we know our silhouettes, the last thing we want to think about are our fabrics. And so when it comes to your fabrics, it's really important to know what feels best on you, what's most comfortable, and what works best with the silhouettes that you're choosing. So for example, I like to be in a fit and flare. So in fit and flares, you can find anything from a structured version, so a thicker material, and with that, you're going to have more flare out. So for some people, more flare out might not be good because it will create too wide and highlight your hips. Versus a dress like I'm wearing now, which is a cotton dress, it's going to flow easier, it's going to be a little bit more easy breezy on you, and so that's not going to make as dramatic as a flare out shape. The other thing to consider for fit too is that comfort, and so for a shift dress, for example, or a sheath dress, if you can get it in a nylon material, it's going to give you that look you want, have some stretch to it, and be really comfortable while still being dressy enough for work. So it's definitely something you need to take into consideration. If you are in something more form-fitting, you might want to have the fabric be a little looser so you don't feel like you're sausaged into it. And if you're in something that's a little looser, you might want something that's a bit more like an A-line or shift. You might want something that has a little bit more structure so you don't look like you're in a just bag of fabric. So take note, figure out your measurements, try on the 4 different styles, figure out which is best for you, and then find different fabrics in those styles to determine what you love and feel the most comfortable in. If you have any other questions when it comes to dresses and when it comes to finding what works best for you, I'd love if you could comment or shoot me a message and let me know, because I want to be here to help you and answer any questions you have. And if you could comment and let me know what your favorite tip from this video was, that would be awesome. I'd love to hear what you enjoyed about it. If you are watching live, then the next video will come out in a week, and that video is going to be all about jackets and finding jackets that fit you well. But if you are watching and the videos have been posted, click on over so you can get those worksheets and find the jackets that fit right for you. I really appreciate you guys watching, and I hope that you keep following along and that I see you all soon. Bye!